Hey guys, Happy New Year. What's going on? It's If You Have to Pick Three. I'm Matt.
I'm Zach.
And if you haven't joined us for one of these episodes before, what we do is we are posed with a topic, and then in said topic, we both come up with top three lists, and then we fight it out to see who's got the most on the top three list. So, Zach, what are we kicking off 2020 with?
What better way to start off a new year than by talking about old years, right? Not
There we
ironic
go.
at all.
It's already a new year, and you're going to make me feel even older.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Death is coming.
Asshole.
Anyway, Matt and I had so much fun when we were talking about our favorite albums from 1994 that we had such a mind-blowing creative idea. What if we did the exact same thing, but for 1995? Albums that you loved that came out in 1995 turned 25 this year. Age is catching up with you. Just like, all the 90s, granted, I think right now we're in the midst of feeling nostalgic about anything 90s related.
Not only that, it's becoming the music that you go shopping to. Like, I remember like back in like the 90s and the 80s when I was growing up, it would all be like my parents' music and be walking through the store like, this is so boring. And now I'm walking through the stores like, I like this song.
Well, yeah, there was not that long, a few weeks ago, I went to a liquor store and I'm just walking through the aisles, and then suddenly, like, it starts off an acoustic Stone Temple Pilots song, then goes right into an acoustic Smashing Pumpkins song. I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like, I not only am I hearing songs from like alt rock 90s playing in stores, but I'm like, oh, this is pleasant. I'm like, what? Oh my God, I feel so old. Ugh.
How much have I put in this cart?
How much did I put in this cart? Why did I get so distracted?
Hashtag Target Run and done. Anyway, moving on.
So, Matt and I have to pick our favorite albums from 1995, albums that are celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. Oh, that's just disgusting to say it. And I'm going first, Matt.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
Do it.
Suck it up. All right.
I said do it.
Anyway. We're kids.
You dirty girl.
All right. First album that I think is the best from 1995. This is a band that nowadays doesn't really get too much credit. They might be kind of considered not so hip, but they were one of the coolest, darkest, ambitious alt-rock bands of the time. I'm talking about Smashing Pumpkins and their album, Mellon, Collie, and the Infinite Sadness. Now, it's already an ambitious idea to do a double album, but it actually went diamond and debuted at number one. Rare feats for such an album. And it's one of those albums that just, even as long as it is, it doesn't feel long. And it's just got some incredible songs like Bullet with Butterfly Wings, 1979, Tonight Tonight, Zero, 33. Even all I really had to say was Tonight Tonight and discussion be done. It is such a beautiful, passionate song that really could have only came out in the 90s, and it just showed that Smashing Pumpkins was at a point when they could have just stuck with what they did on Siamese Dreams, but instead they took their sound to the next level. They just amped it up even further and went in a different direction too. They didn't just do the loud guitars. They played with orchestra elements. And, the drumming is just phenomenal in that song too. I can just rave about that song alone, but the whole album is phenomenal. And even with the little fluff that isn't a double album, it plays well with it. And it's just a really great listen. And it holds up really well. So, first album, Smashing Pumpkins, Mellon, Collie, and the Infinite Sadness. Album number 2, No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom.
You said you were going to put that on this list.
I've warned everyone, even random people at a grocery store, hey, this is going to be on my list. And they're like, please get away from me. You're scaring my children. It's a great pop record. It's an album that saw No Doubt go from just ska darlings to mainstream juggernauts. The songs on it, Just a Girl, Spiderwebs, Don't Speak. If you're going to look me in the face. Anthem. Yeah, Don't Speak.
No.
Which? Just a Girl?
Just a Girl.
Yeah. But it's a great pop anthem. And Don't Speak is one of the most heart-wrenching ballads that you just end up singing along to, even if you're not in a crazy situation, you still sing along as if it's speaking to you, no pun intended, in a car. And then Sunday Morning is just a great freaking jam. It's one of those albums that sounds like the 90s. It's got the new wave inspiration in it. It's got the funk rock elements that the Chili Peppers influenced. It's got the ska. It's got the punk. It's literally a perfect 90s rock pop record. And I mean, it sold 60 million copies and was certified diamond as well. I'm noticing a trend when I was looking at albums. The 90s was such an easier time for albums to become diamond selling records. Like, I can't even imagine an album getting platinum anymore. Isn't that sad, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, you do see it every now and again, but yeah, I know what you're saying, because like the way that everything is handled now with downloads,
Yeah.
and you know, everybody buys the singles and the songs they like. You know, it's a whole different world that we're in.
Like
now.
if an album goes gold, that's amazing.
Yeah.
When before in the 90s, that was like still considered kind of successful.
All right, you went gold.
Good
All
for
right,
you, but you still
what's
owe
your
us money.
Yeah, what's your next trick? What are you gonna do next?
90s were a crazy time.
90s were the best time.
No doubt, Tragic Kingdom, second album pick. And this third one, Matt, don't even act like you weren't going to include this one on your list, because you ought to know that I was going to pick.
Isn't it ironic that you're picking it?
A little bit.
Don't you think?
I got one hand in my pocket. I don't know how that one fits. Hey-o. Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. Before I even explain further, you know, you might have seen on our socials at Epic Footnote, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, nice little plug, that I posed a question to our listeners and to our followers. There were two big tours that were announced in December of last year. The stadium tour with Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Poison, and Joan Jett. And then the Alanis Morissette tour with Garbage and Liz Phair, where she's going to be celebrating Jagged Little Pill. And I was like, so which tour are you more excited for? And it kind of mind boggles me how, if you had asked me 10 years ago, I might have been like, maybe for the right price, the stadium tour with the 80s hair metal bands that really shouldn't be performing anymore. But now I'm like, no, I'm going to Alanis Morissette. Like, in fact, fair warning, Matt and I are going to be at the PNC Homedale show on July 1st. You should come over and say hi to us if you're going to be there too.
Like, oh my God. I listen to you guys on a podcast and be like, oh, this is awesome. We
Thank
have
you.
a fan.
And then like, we're going to follow you all night because we're so excited to see you. And you're going to be like, I really wish I didn't say anything to them. Because we have that effect on people. But if you want to talk about an artist that really defined what the 90s was, it's
and
Alanis
how
Morissette.
fun the 90s could be.
I mean, and heartbreaking at the same time. I mean, You Ought to Know is such an anthem of strength in the face of just heartbreak. And it's just a great song. I mean,
I'm sorry, I can't take that relationship seriously that she wrote that about.
well, hold on. It's not confirmed.
It's like 95%.
We don't know
Come
for
on.
sure.
We
don't know.
Joey from Full House. Come
We
on.
don't know for sure. That's one of the rumors. It's the Carly Simon, You're So Vain.
Yes.
It's the 90s version of that song. We don't know. Let's not spread rumors. That's not what we're here to do, Matt. It's not what we're here to do. I mean, just combining the post-grunge alt with just thoughtful pop elements. I mean, we did a past episode about the best music videos of the 90s because, I mean, the 90s were such a great time for that art form. And Alanis Morissette is so up there with all of her hits and just the really rememberable videos, like for Ironic. It's just...
We did an episode.
You did. You should go listen to it on YouTube or Spotify or iTunes or literally anywhere you can find a podcast.
We're all fine podcast
This
service,
episode
dude.
is just becoming a bunch of plugs for us,
That's okay.
which is kind of what the 90s were, just plugs for everything. Commercialism. But I mean, it was such a massive album. I mean, it's been selling over 33 million copies. It's one of the best selling albums literally of all time. I mean, she is one of the most successful Canadian artists ever. I think she's the first Canadian to ever reach double diamond sales. Not just diamond sales, double diamond sales. That would make Tiffany's blush. How many diamonds are in that? I actually don't know how that works. The whole plaque. Is it just made out of diamond? I don't know. Beside the point, it is one of the best defining albums of the 90s. And I would argue that when you think of the 90s, if this album isn't what first pops up in your mind, you probably were born either post 2000 or just were so stuck in the 80s that you ignored everything that was happening. So, recap, Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill, No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom, and Smashing Pumpkins' Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. You're not listening to K-Rock from the 90s. You're listening to two grown men in one of their living rooms talking about music for a podcast, I swear.
And back after this.
And back after this commercial. So,
All
Matt,
right, now that we're back. So now, going into my list.
Yes, let's hear your list.
All right. So we're going to start off this way. We're going to say that we almost matched completely. So
Really? Almost?
Almost. We're going to start out with the Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness.
You did choose that one.
I did. I didn't want to. I looked at everything else that came out, and I was like, it'd be kind of stupid of me not to put this on here. A lot of people say that, there is a lot of fluff in there outside of, the main songs that, you talked about earlier, 1979, Tonight, Zero. But the album, for what it was when it came out, it was an amazing album, an amazing concept. The artwork on it alone,
so good.
If you look at the artwork, it's not just the main cover. There is a whole other celestial map that comes with this thing. And not a lot of people take the time to appreciate that, because the woman and the star, that's the main cover. But if you open it up and look at the whole thing, there's a whole bunch of different just images in there. And it's really cool the way they did it. It looks all like 1910s-ish.
I had the CD version of it. It sounds like we should be doing an unboxing video for it. Just saying. Maybe if you want to see that, you should comment on YouTube telling us to do it. Just saying. Plug.
Also, like you mentioned, a double disc is kind of ambitious. Mm-hmm. It's not like a double record where it's 8 songs. No, this is a true double disc with something like, 18 songs?
It's a lot.
It's a lot of songs. I always get this wrong. It's from the double disc. It goes from dusk till twilight, and then twilight to daybreak, or something like that. That's how the discs are broken up. They have a specific wording for it.
Is Matt right? Let us know on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
I'm going to take your microphone away at this point.
I'm trying to promote us. I'm doing this for us.
And you're turning them off at the same time.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So, so that's going to be album number 1 for me. I mean, it's a great album. It's a great double disc. It's probably one of the best double discs that ever have been released.
I'm really shocked. I actually thought I kind of got the sense that you weren't as into Smashing Pumpkins.
Oh no, you got me on the topic of the latest Smashing Pumpkins album, which is true. Absolute garbage.
Also available on all
the new
channels.
the Smashing Pumpkins that were the 90s were good.
I actually really did like the new album from Smashing Pumpkins that came out 2 years ago at this point. You have to listen to a past 2 minutes review episode to hear why, but that's why I figured you wouldn't even choose that album.
No. I'm not that blinded.
Okay.
Yeah. So album number 2 that I kind of put on this list because, well, we are going. It has to be Jagged Little Pill.
It has to be.
I love the album, and I very distinctly remember going to Sam Goody, going through the CDs, and buying it.
Are you just trying to say 90s references now?
Yes.
Be like, hey, did you catch that episode of All That last night? Wasn't that the jam?
I did. After I went to Blockbuster.
Oh,
zing. Anyway,
yeah, baby.
So it has to be Jagged Little Pill for all the reasons that you stated, and I mean, just listening to something like this, it was a little bit different with a little bit familiar that was blended in, into the 90s. The 90s had so much music in so many different genres, I want to say. This was that edge of grunge meeting pop. And it was really, really good and very well done on this album. It didn't try to lean one way or another too much. She always kind of she blended just everything so well. I mean, that's really the way that I can put it. I mean, the songs on here that I absolutely love, I mean, you're going to know most of them, is All I Really Want, You Ought to Know, Hand in My Pocket, Ironic, Head Over Feet. And then on the remaster, they actually do an a cappella version of You Ought to Know, which is really cool. There's so much content that's on this album, and if you listen to the second album or not the second album, but what the hell was that album? The one where she did Thank You. I think that was
That was the next album.
Yeah, that was the next one. That's like in 98.
Yeah.
I mean, that song was okay, and that album was but nothing ever held a candle to Jagged Little Pill, and that's why it's on Broadway now, too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love this album. Always have, always will. Second one on the list.
Can I guess what your third one's going to be?
Go ahead.
I'm thinking it's one of two albums.
Go on.
It's either from Oasis or Rancid.
It's not Rancid.
It's not Rancid.
It's not Oasis.
And it's not Oasis?
It's Mariah Carey.
What?
I love Mariah.
Go on.
No, it's Oasis. Come
Oh,
on.
I was going to say, what album did she release in 95?
No, it has to be Oasis for me. Forget No Doubt. I absolutely hate No Doubt.
Oh, screw you, but continue.
They're the biggest sellout. She's the biggest sellout in the world. Not they are. She is. Anyway, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time.
We're going to debate this in a second, but please explain why Oasis, your third one.
Okay, so Oasis.
And say the full title.
What's the story? Morning Glory. Absolutely love this album because growing up, I never really appreciated the Beatles the way that they should have been appreciated. But because I was a child of the 90s and I got to listen to everything that came through and loved all of it, one of the things that hit me the most was the Brit-pop movement that happened. It was like the new wave of British pop that came in to America, and Oasis was leading the charge. And if you handed this album to my dad or anybody who loved the Beatles from when they came out and, you know, listened to them religiously, they would have enjoyed the hell out of it because it was that throwback to that type of music with the edge of the 90s on it. And I think only now, or only in the 90s, could something of this been released. And I know it's kind of cliche to say that, but it's true. Think about trying to fit something like Oasis today. It would kind of just fall into the background, fall like into the white noise of things that are okay. But this was something special. And that album, from start to finish, was such an amazing album. And it went platinum 6 and 8 and 12 times, 15 times platinum in the UK. They toured incessantly over this album, and they were on top of the pop rock world at the time. They got their egos so inflated that they said the one thing that you should not say, and it instantly killed them. And I would rewind history, and if they could not say that they were going to be bigger than the Beatles, or that they were bigger than the Beatles, I forget which way you said it, but if you remove that statement, I wonder if Oasis wouldn't have imploded.
Isn't it ironic that what got the Beatles into hot water was that that John Lennon offhand said that they were bigger than Jesus at the time. Mm-hmm. And that Oasis essentially said, oh, they're bigger than the Beatles.
Correct.
Say copycat.
Well,
Sorry. Continue.
I will also pose this question just because, you know, this is going to get some people talking. Is Oasis the original Greta Van Fleet?
Ooh.
Yeah, right? Think about it.
Ooh.
But back to this album. It is so good. The title track wasn't even, I don't even think it was released. You could correct me if I'm wrong, Internet, because I might be. I don't think it was ever released as a single, and that's one of my favorite songs off the album. Forget Wonderwall. Everybody loves Wonderwall. Everybody knows Wonderwall. But if What's the Story, Morning Glory wasn't released as a single, it should have been. Don't Look Back in Anger, another really, really good one. Cast No Shadow. I would even say Cast No Shadow would probably be their equivalent to Here Comes the Sun. It's just such a great song. I love Champagne Supernova. I remember seeing the video for that the very first time, and it was almost like a trippy throwback to the 60s, 70s style music videos. This album, I don't care what you say about No Doubt, this album has real timeless qualities about it.
You know, it's funny. I feel like everything that you can say about Oasis and about No Doubt. Like the love that you have for the Oasis album and the hate that you have for the No Doubt album is the same that I have for the love I have about No Doubt, so about Tragic Kingdom, as I hate about Oasis. I think they're just they've been a little overblown. They had some good songs. I felt like they were a little bit more kind of throwbackish and not as original. But you know what? So is there anything you want to add about
No,
that
I think
album?
I've said pretty much everything I need to say.
So I want to propose something that's going to be that might take you by surprise. Matthew.
Let me guess, you want to tie it?
Kind of.
Kind of. How do you kind of tie?
No, not tie it. Not tie. So we both have 2 albums that we agree on.
Yes.
I want to propose something crazy.
Uh-oh.
So I think we both, there's no doubt that Jagged Little Pill is number 1.
Swallow it down.
Instead of just saying, yeah, okay, so then Smashing Pumpkins will be definitely number 2. How about we make the final 3 Jagged Little Pill, Tragic Kingdom, and What's the Story, Morning Glory.
Ooh, interesting. And I will agree with you. I will 100% agree with you. I don't feel that the double disc holds as much clout in my mind as Oasis does, because Oasis was the bigger band.
I would agree.
At that point, Oasis was the bigger
I
band.
mean, Smashing Pumpkins were huge.
But at that point, I feel like they.
I would also argue that while they were huge, Smashing Pumpkins at that point, Wonderwall. I know that you're saying that's not the best song on the album, but Wonderwall is still a massive. It will stop a bar full of drunk people who want to sing along to that song in its tracks.
Because after all, you're my Wonderwall.
So I mean, there's no denying the power of that song alone.
Yes. I'm not even going to try to fight you on
Yeah, I
Tragic
think that's
Kingdom
fair.
because
It's so good. How can you disagree? So
because
good.
I do.
It literally has so many different elements in it.
Good. It
So
could have
good.
as many elements in it
And
as...
they make it sound like one, though. It's so... We're not going to fight about this.
And every single time you listen to it, either on Spotify or Apple Music, or you buy a vinyl or buy the CD, you support Gwen Stefani.
I'm okay with that.
I hate her as a person.
She's great.
I hate her as a person.
She's the best.
No, she's not.
Let's just agree to disagree. And if you can't actually see this, but we're angrily like shaking hands, like, you know, in the intense action films where they're just like staring at each other.
You
as
son
they're,
of a
like,
bitch.
Like really like trying to like man each other as they're in the handshake. That's what's happening right now. Just take our word on it. But so our final 3, the best albums of 1995: Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory; Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill; and No Doubt's Tragic Kingdom.
Boo.
Yay. Do you agree? Let us know on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Friendster, Pigeons, at Epic Footnote. We want to hear your thoughts about what you thought were the best albums from that year. And thanks for listening. Here's to another great year of 2 music nerds talking about music on a podcast, Matt.
And hopefully we get to hear your opinions on all of this and tell us what your memories of 1995 are in music. But yes, here's to a great 2020. Cheers, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Cheers, everyone.